Hello, everyone. Welcome to this webinar by Absolute today. The topic is distance learning's impact on education IT. We've got a very full list of things to cover today with this report that was published in September, and we're excited to go over it with everyone today. So I'm Sarita Baines. I'm a Director of Product Management here at Absolute, and I focus on the education sector. So K-12, higher ed, and I get to spend my days talking to customers, folks in the market. It's a really enjoyable group of folks that I get to talk with. And with me today is someone else who I love talking with. We have Dave Mundo.
Yes, hello, and thanks, Sarita. Talking about education and data and metrics. What a great combination, right? So again, I'm Dave Mundo. I lead the data intelligence team here at Absolute Software. And what that means is we mine a bunch of cool data assets that Absolute Software has. We mine that data for insights. And in fact, much of what we're going to talk about today is based on some of the device telemetry data that we have. So really looking forward to sharing some of it.
Very exciting. Really looking forward to you telling us about all the cool things that you can tell us from the data and what that means. Okay. So here's the agenda. We're going to talk about the context of the report, and then we're going to cover some key topics about management of your school devices in distance and hybrid learning environments, visibility into the remote classroom, right? A lot of classrooms are remote now. So how do you know what's going on when the classroom is now in the home setting? Protecting those devices. One-to-one programs have absolutely exploded. How do you know where those devices are and manage that technology to support those devices in that kind of environment? And then finally, we'll talk about how Absolute can help with a lot of these challenges.
Okay, great. Thanks, Sarita, for that. So let's jump in. So much of what we're going to talk about today centers around the education trends report that we released earlier this year. And it contains a bunch of really cool metrics and based on this device telemetry data. And not only are we going to be talking about that, but we're also going to be updating some of those metrics to give you the latest and greatest. The metrics in the report are a couple months old at this point. We wanted to really provide data that's fresh. So some background about the report. There's a lot of really cool data and insights in it. A lot of it is primary research that we've conducted here at Absolute, and some of it is secondary research that we've pulled from other sources as well. So along the top here on the right where it says 12 analyst reports and peer research, that's some of that secondary research that we incorporated. But I want to talk about the primary research we've done. That research is based on over 5 million devices that we have spanning 10,000 schools and districts. So it's a really rich data set. And what exactly is in that data set? It's a combination of hardware and software info on a device. So for instance, what is the operating system on a device and what version's installed? What are the security applications that are installed? What are the compliance rates around some of these security apps? So it's a lot of rich info, and all of the data is anonymized and private. And so it's all aggregated up. So obviously there's no revealing anything about individual schools or districts or anything like that. So again, a really rich data set that we're able to provide a lot of really cool insights around. Now, it's not solely about the data, right? The cool thing about the data is we can use it to answer really interesting questions in the education space. Sarita, do you want to talk about that a little bit? What types of questions we think we can answer here?
Yeah, absolutely. Like you say, data is powerful, but interpretation, I'd say, is, more powerful. And so some questions that the report looks to address is, how can my district stay connected to my inventory, to my device fleet, in particular in this now mobile world where, again, all those devices could be anywhere. And then how are they being used, right? There's a lot of questions right now about, are the devices being used for what? For the intended purpose. And then there's technology you need to support that remote environment, right? When you're in a physical school, you might have an IT shop, an IT office in your school, and someone has a problem, whether it's staff or a student or whatnot. You can have that interaction with your technology team. now how does that work? How do you remotely support technology that is critical to facilitate learning? That's key. And again, online learning tools, how are students engaging with them? Some students might be used to them. Maybe you already were somewhere along your path of adopting online learning tools, and some schools maybe not as far down that path. And so now as you're really accelerated that, how is that adoption? What is it looking like? And then, security. I don't think you can have a conversation in the context that we talk about here without talking about security. We've seen ransomware attacks just absolutely spike. And so how is that environment changing? How is your risk profile changing with this complexity of technology, more devices, it's all remote? What does that look like? And then finally, in this very unique school year, right, this 2021 school year, how can you make devices more resilient? And we feel like that's fundamental, and that bridges all the things that we've just talked about. When you've got a resilient device, it can help address all those types of challenges. So these are the types of things that the report talks about, and we'll cover bits and pieces of that today. Just to start, we'll just lay some of the groundwork in the environment again, in this challenging environment. And I won't go to length because I think folks know this. We see this day in and day out, from mainstream media to, your own environment, your own community. People can see the effects and what's happening here. But on a macro level, you've got a world where budgets at a state and a local level, collectively, we're looking to go down about $750 billion. That is obviously a massive, absolutely massive number. We haven't seen numbers like that, from a single event, I think, potentially ever. So that is huge. How do you operate in that kind of environment? And again, that's happening quite quickly. Schools and districts collectively, $3.7 billion for additional COVID-related costs. And that could be everything from technology, but to PPE, to other equipment, to staffing needs, all of that's needed. And if you look at average per student basis, the projection is about an additional incremental $500 per student for, again, all those related costs that, we didn't have to think about a year ago today from now. So again, this is a very interesting world, ever-shifting world. So I'm really glad, by the way, you mentioned that we're going to look at some fresh stats from the report. So this is ever-changing, right? This is not going to be static. So I do appreciate that. Okay.
Yeah, and I think that's what it comes down to. We can show metrics all day long, and they can look interesting, but boy, what it comes down to is helping some of our customers and some of the attendees today making better decisions about how to manage devices within their schools and districts to save money, et cetera, right? So all that is huge. Again, what's the application of some of this data? Okay, well, with that, let's get into some of the detailed metrics. So we have a few small sections here, and we're going to start with just device info.